Welcome to Daily English Room. Today's topic is learning English. Let's begin with introducing yourselves.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm 28 and I work as a software engineer in China. I'm passionate about technology and I'm learning English to advance my career.
Hello, my name is Amira. I'm 33, from Morocco, and I'm both a part-time ESL teacher and a full-time mother. I'm raising my children to be bilingual in Arabic and French, but I'm also learning English to help support their education and to improve my teaching career.
Hi, I'm Carlos. I'm 35 and I'm a chef from Brazil. I love cooking and sharing Brazilian cuisine with others.
Hi, I'm Yuki. I'm 30, and I work as a graphic designer in Japan. I've always been interested in Western pop culture, and English is key to understanding it better.
Hello, I'm Luca. I'm 40 and I'm a tour guide from Slovenia, specializing in adventure tourism. I guide people from all over the world, and English is the main language we use.
Hi, my name is Aisha. I'm 22 and I'm a university student from Nigeria, studying environmental science. I speak multiple languages, but English is the most important for my studies, especially because I want to work on global climate change initiatives.
Our first topic is the reason why you want to learn English. Let's hear from our members.
I'll start. As a software engineer in China, English is crucial for my career. Most programming languages and technical documentation are in English. I want to collaborate with international teams and maybe work abroad someday. Learning English opens up so many opportunities in the tech world.
For me, it's all about my children's future. I want to support their education in our multilingual household. As an ESL teacher, improving my English also means I can be a better educator and potentially teach at more advanced levels or in international schools.
For me, it's all about sharing my passion for Brazilian cuisine. I dream of opening a restaurant that attracts an international crowd. Speaking English will help me explain dishes, understand customer preferences, and maybe even land a spot on a cooking show one day.
I'm fascinated by Western pop culture, movies, music, comics, you name it. I want to enjoy these in their original form without relying on translations. Plus, as a graphic designer, communicating with international clients in English could really boost my career.
Well, for me, learning English is not just a want, it's a need in my day-to-day life as a tour guide. I work with tourists from all over the world who come to explore the beautiful landscapes of Slovenia. English is like a bridge that connects me to these people. I want to learn more natural ways to express things in English.
As an environmental science student, I see English as a tool for global change. Climate change is a worldwide issue, and I want to participate in international conferences and research projects. English is the lingua franca of science, so it's essential for my future in this field.
Now, let's talk about the challenges you've faced. What has been your biggest challenge in learning English, and how are you overcoming it?
For me, it's definitely the pronunciation. In Chinese, we don't have some of the sounds used in English, like the th sound. I've been practicing by watching English movies with subtitles and repeating dialogues. I also use a pronunciation app that gives me feedback on my speech.
Balancing different English accents is tricky for me. In Morocco, we're exposed to British English in school, but American English is prevalent in media. To handle this, I listen to podcasts from various English-speaking countries. I'm teaching my children to understand and appreciate different accents too.
Idioms are my nemesis. In Portuguese, we have our own colorful expressions, but English idioms often leave me scratching my head. I've started keeping an idiom journal, where I write down new expressions I hear and their meanings. I try to use one new idiom in conversation each day.
For me, it's been overcoming the fear of making mistakes when speaking. In Japan, we often focus on perfectionism, which can make speaking a new language intimidating. I'm working on this by participating in language exchange meetups. The supportive environment helps me feel more comfortable making mistakes and learning from them.
You know, for me, the biggest challenge has been mastering those tricky phrasal verbs and idiomatic expressions. In Slovenian, we don't really have phrasal verbs, so the concept itself was quite foreign to me at first. I've started watching more English language TV shows and movies, especially those set in tourist or adventure settings. It helps me pick up natural expressions and see how native speakers use language in context.
Technical vocabulary is my biggest hurdle. Environmental science has so many specific terms. I'm tackling this by reading scientific papers in English and creating flashcards for new terms. I also joined an online forum for environmental scientists where I can practice using these terms in context.
You've all shared great insights about your challenges and strategies. Now, let's look to the future. What is your biggest goal for using English in the next year?
My goal is to give a technical presentation in English at an international software development conference. I've already submitted a proposal, and if it's accepted, I'll need to prepare a 30-minute talk about our latest project. It's scary but exciting.
My big goal is to pass the IELTS exam with a score high enough to qualify for a master's program in education at a UK university. I'm particularly focused on improving my academic writing skills to achieve this.
I'm aiming to start a YouTube cooking channel where I'll share Brazilian recipes in English. I want to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's ambitious, but I believe my passion for food will shine through, even if my English isn't perfect.
I'm planning to enter an international design competition where I'll need to present my work in English. My goal is to be able to eloquently describe my creative process and answer questions from the judges without hesitation.
I've been dreaming of expanding my tour guide services to include virtual tours and online educational content about Slovenia's natural wonders and cultural heritage. So, my main goal is to improve my English skills enough to confidently launch this new project.
I've applied for a summer internship with an environmental NGO in Canada. If I get it, I'll be using English every day in a professional setting. My goal is to be able to confidently contribute ideas in team meetings and write reports by the end of the internship.
You've all set some impressive goals. To help achieve them, you must be using various learning resources. So, what's your favorite resource for learning English, and why?
My favorite resource is actually a podcast called Programming in English. It combines my interest in coding with language learning. Each episode breaks down a programming concept using simple English, then gradually introduces more complex terminology. It's perfect for improving my technical English while keeping up with industry trends.
It offers sample lectures, academic writing guides, and practice exercises specifically designed for non-native speakers pursuing higher education. It's been crucial in preparing me for my IELTS exam and future studies.
I love using cooking shows on YouTube for learning English. I follow several channels hosted by native English speakers. Not only do I pick up cooking-related vocabulary, but I also learn everyday expressions and cultural nuances. Plus, I can practice by cooking along and describing the process in English.
My go-to resource is an app called Design Lingo. It's specifically for designers learning English. It offers flashcards for design terminology, quizzes on describing visual concepts, and even mock client briefing scenarios. It's incredibly useful for my specific needs as a graphic designer.
I use quite a few different tools, but if I had to pick just one, I'd say it's actually podcasts. Podcasts are perfect because I can listen to them anytime, anywhere. It's like having a portable English lesson that fits into the nooks and crannies of my busy day. Many podcast apps allow you to slow down the playback speed, which is super helpful when I encounter a challenging episode. I can listen at 0.8x speed to really focus on pronunciation and intonation.
For me, it's the National Geographic website. Their articles cover a wide range of environmental topics, which aligns perfectly with my studies. The language is sophisticated yet accessible, and the accompanying videos help with listening comprehension. I often summarize articles in English to practice my writing skills.
What's a cultural misunderstanding or surprise you've encountered while learning or using English?
Oh, I have a good one. In a meeting with American colleagues, I kept hearing them say, "Let's table the discussion." I thought they wanted to discuss it right away because in Chinese, putting something on the table means to bring it up for discussion. I was confused when they moved on to another topic. I later learned that in American English, it means to postpone the discussion. That was quite a surprise.
My experience was with email etiquette. In Morocco, we tend to be quite formal in professional communications. In my first email to a British professor, I used very formal language and several lines wishing him well before getting to the point. He replied kindly but briefly, suggesting I could be more direct in future emails. I've since learned that in many English-speaking academic settings, concise emails are preferred.
Mine happened at a food festival in London. I was proudly telling visitors that my feijoada was the bomb, meaning it was excellent. Some people looked alarmed until a kind English speaker explained that while the bomb is positive in casual American English, some Brits might think I was saying my food was dangerous or unpleasant. I quickly learned to say it was fantastic instead.
My surprise was more visual. I designed a poster using the OK hand gesture for an English language campaign. My Australian client quickly asked me to change it, explaining that while this gesture means OK in many cultures, it can be offensive in some English-speaking countries. I was amazed at how a simple hand gesture could have such different meanings across cultures.
Once, while guiding American tourists in Triglav National Park, I made an amusing mistake. I told them they might see gams on the slopes, meaning chamois. In Slovenian, gams means chamois, but it sounds like gams in English, which can mean legs. The tourists thought I was talking about disembodied legs roaming the mountainside. We all had a good laugh when I clarified with a picture. It taught me to be careful with animal names and showed how language mix-ups can create funny moments.
During a video call with Canadian researchers, I mentioned I'd been mugging all night before our meeting. They looked shocked, and I couldn't understand why. In Nigerian English, mugging means studying intensely. I didn't realize that in other varieties of English, it means robbing someone. We had a good laugh about it, and I learned to say cramming or studying hard instead.
Learning a language can be challenging, but it also has its rewarding moments. Can you share a moment when you felt you'd made a real breakthrough in your English skills?
My breakthrough came during a code review meeting at work. I was explaining a complex algorithm I developed, and suddenly realized I'd been speaking fluently for 10 minutes without pausing to translate in my head. My colleagues were nodding and asking insightful questions. It hit me then, I wasn't just speaking English, I was thinking in English. That feeling of fluency was incredible.
My moment came while reading an English novel to my children at bedtime. I was doing different voices for the characters and adding dramatic flair to the narration. My kids were giggling and totally engrossed in the story. Halfway through, I realized I hadn't stumbled over any words or needed to pause to understand anything. The language had become a tool for creativity and connection with my children, rather than a barrier. It was a beautiful moment.
For me, it was when I successfully told a joke in English and everyone laughed. It happened at an international food fair. I made a pun about whisking away some eggs for my dessert recipe. The play on words just came naturally, and when people got it, I felt on top of the world. Understanding and creating humor in another language felt like unlocking a new level of fluency.
Mine happened while I was watching an English movie without subtitles. It was a fast-paced dialogue in a Tarantino film, full of slang and cultural references. Suddenly, I realized I was laughing at the jokes and understanding the nuances without any struggle. It felt like a fog had lifted. I wasn't just understanding the words, but the whole context and subtext too.
My English breakthrough came unexpectedly during a severe thunderstorm on a mountain tour. We were forced to take shelter, and I had to quickly explain safety procedures and keep everyone calm. I found myself switching effortlessly between giving clear instructions, answering panic questions, and even translating weather updates from Slovenian radio. Despite the stressful situation, I communicated effectively and kept everyone informed and reassured. That's when I realized my English had become a reliable tool, even in high-pressure situations.
My breakthrough moment was during a Model United Nations conference. I was representing Nigeria and had to give a speech on climate change policies. As I spoke, I noticed the room was silent, everyone was listening intently. After my speech, delegates from other countries engaged me in debate, and I could respond confidently and articulately. That's when I realized I could use English effectively to advocate for causes I care about on an international stage.
We've heard about your breakthroughs. But language learning is also about consistent practice. How do you incorporate English into your daily life outside of formal study or work?
I've turned my morning routine into an English immersion experience. I listen to an English news podcast while getting ready, read tech articles in English over breakfast, and even set my phone's language to English. It was challenging at first, especially early in the morning, but now it feels natural. I've even started dreaming in English occasionally.
I've started a bilingual story time with my children. We read a page in Arabic, then I translate it into English, encouraging them to guess meanings of new words. It's helping both me and my kids improve. I've also joined a virtual English-speaking Toastmasters club to practice public speaking. It's terrifying but incredibly helpful.
For me, cooking is my passion, so I've started narrating my cooking process in English, as if I'm hosting my own cooking show. I record myself and watch it later to improve. It's a bit silly, but it's great practice for my future YouTube channel. I also joined an online international cookbook club where we discuss recipes in English. It's improved both my culinary and language skills.
I've gamified my English learning. I play online multiplayer games with English-speaking teammates. The fast-paced environment forces me to think and communicate quickly in English. I've learned so much gaming slang. I also follow English-speaking designers on social media and challenge myself to comment thoughtfully on their posts every day.
I've made English a part of my daily routine. I start my mornings with an English news podcast while making breakfast. During hikes, I challenge myself to mentally describe the landscapes in English. And I've also started keeping a journal in English, jotting down my thoughts and experiences at the end of each day.
I've started a small English book club with other international students. We meet weekly in a local cafe to discuss English novels related to environmental themes. It's a great way to improve vocabulary, practice speaking, and debate ideas in English. I also keep a daily journal in English about environmental news and my reflections on it.
It's inspiring to see how you've each found methods that align with your interests and lifestyles. Learning a language can sometimes be frustrating. What do you do to stay motivated when you feel discouraged in your English learning journey?
When I feel discouraged, I look back at old emails or documents I wrote in English. Seeing how much I've improved always gives me a boost. I also have a wins folder where I save screenshots of successful English conversations or compliments on my language skills. On tough days, scrolling through this folder reminds me how far I've come.
On tough days, I listen to recordings of my children practicing English. Hearing their progress and enthusiasm reminds me why I started this journey. I also have a language learning chart calendar where I mark off each day I practice English. I hate breaking the chain, so it keeps me going even on low motivation days. Lastly, I remind myself that by improving my English, I'm setting a powerful example for my kids about lifelong learning.
I have a vision board in my kitchen with pictures of international chefs I admire and quotes from them in English. When I feel down, I look at it and remind myself why I started this journey. I also treat myself to watching an episode of my favorite English cooking show. It's a reminder that I'm not just learning a language, I'm working towards my dreams.
I've gamified my motivation too. I have a progress bar on my wall that I color in for every hour of English practice. When I complete it, I reward myself with a new design book in English. Also, I follow several English-speaking designers on Instagram. Seeing their work and reading their captions inspires me to keep improving so I can engage with this community more fully.
When I feel discouraged, I remind myself why I started learning English, to connect with people and share Slovenia's beauty. I watch videos of polyglots for inspiration. Sometimes, I revisit old recordings of my tours to see how far I've come. I also have a win jar, where I write down small language victories on slips of paper. Reading these helps boost my confidence. Lastly, I chat with fellow guides worldwide. Their stories and encouragement always reignite my motivation.
When motivation is low, I watch speeches by influential environmentalists in English. It reminds me that mastering English is about more than personal achievement, it's about being able to contribute to global conversations on issues I care about. I also have a study buddy, and we send each other encouraging voice messages in English, celebrating small victories.
Language learning often involves bridging cultural gaps. Can you share an experience where you successfully navigated a cultural difference using your English skills?
At an international tech conference, I was paired with an American colleague for a presentation. When we were preparing, he suggested we spitball some ideas. I was confused and a bit offended at first. Spitting is rude in Chinese culture. But I asked him to clarify, and learned it just means to brainstorm casually. We ended up having a great brainstorming session, and our presentation was a hit. It taught me the importance of asking for clarification when idioms confuse me.
In an online teaching forum, a British colleague used the phrase, "That's rubbish," in response to an idea. Some non-native English speakers seemed offended, interpreting it as very harsh criticism. Understanding that rubbish is a milder term in British English, equivalent to "that's nonsense" in American English, I was able to mediate. I explained the difference to the group, turning it into a lesson on English varieties. It smoothed over the misunderstanding and sparked an interesting discussion on how tone and word choice can vary across English-speaking cultures.
I catered an event for a multinational company, and the CEO requested a pudding for dessert. In Brazil, pudim is similar to a flan, so that's what I prepared. However, I learned that in British English, pudding can mean any dessert. The CEO actually wanted a cake. Instead of panicking, I explained the misunderstanding in English, turning it into a fun cultural lesson. Everyone was amused, and they loved learning about Brazilian desserts. It turned a potential disaster into a memorable cultural exchange.
I was designing a website for an international client, and I used the color white prominently in my design, as it signifies purity and cleanliness in Japan. The client, who was from Egypt, requested we change it, as white is associated with mourning there. Instead of being defensive, I engaged in a discussion about color symbolism across cultures. We ended up creating a design that was culturally appropriate and visually appealing for their target audience. This experience taught me the importance of cultural research in design.
Once, I had a group with both British and American tourists. A misunderstanding arose over the word biscuits, the Brits expecting sweet treats and the Americans thinking of savory bread. Using my English skills, I explained the difference, turning it into a fun cultural lesson. We ended up having a lively discussion about language variations and food traditions. It was rewarding to bridge this cultural gap, fostering understanding and even friendship between the guests. This experience showed me how language skills can turn potential conflicts into enriching cultural exchanges.
During a virtual environmental conference, I was discussing reforestation projects with colleagues from various countries. I noticed some participants seemed hesitant to disagree openly with senior members. Recognizing this could be a cultural difference, I suggested we use a digital tool for anonymous feedback. This allowed everyone to express their opinions freely. By addressing this cultural difference diplomatically in English, we had a more productive and inclusive discussion.
Sometimes the most effective learning methods are ones we don't expect. What's an unconventional or unexpected strategy that has really helped improve your English skills?
Believe it or not, playing Dungeons & Dragons in English has been incredibly helpful. I joined an online group, and role-playing different characters forces me to use English creatively. I have to think on my feet, use descriptive language, and even do different accents. It's improved my vocabulary, especially in describing emotions and actions. Plus, the fantasy setting introduces me to archaic and poetic language I wouldn't encounter in my tech-focused studies.
I've found that teaching English grammar concepts to my children through physical movements has not only helped them but improved my own understanding too. For instance, we act out tenses, jumping for the present, walking backwards for the past, and reaching forward for the future. This kinesthetic approach has made grammar more intuitive for me. I've even started using these techniques in my adult ESL classes, and it's been a hit.
Singing karaoke in English has been a game changer for me. I started doing it just for fun, but I noticed it really helped with my pronunciation and rhythm of speech. I focus on songs that tell stories, like country music or rap, which has improved my narrative skills in English. It's also great for learning colloquialisms and slang. Now, I host a weekly English karaoke night at my restaurant.
I've found that practicing tongue twisters has really helped my pronunciation. I start each day with a new English tongue twister, repeating it throughout the day. It's not just fun, but it's also improved my ability to handle difficult sound combinations. I've even started creating my own design-related tongue twisters, like, she sells sleek steel stilettos. It's a creative way to combine my profession with language learning.
My unconventional English strategy is scent journaling. I associate English words with specific scents I encounter in nature during my hikes. For example, the earthy smell of moss reminds me of verdant and lush. I jot these associations in a notebook. Later, when I catch a whiff of pine, it might trigger words like aromatic or resinous. This method has dramatically improved my descriptive vocabulary and memory retention. Plus, it makes my tours more vivid when I can link English words to sensory experiences.
I started writing fan fiction in English for my favorite sci-fi series. It began as a hobby, but it significantly improved my writing skills. Engaging with other fans in the comments sections has enhanced my ability to discuss and debate in English. Plus, trying to mimic the style of different characters has made me more aware of how word choice and sentence structure can convey personality and emotion.
We've talked about many aspects of learning English. But let's look to the future. What's your ultimate aspiration or dream that you hope to achieve through English proficiency?
My ultimate dream is to deliver a TED Talk on artificial intelligence and its ethical implications. I want to share my research and ideas with a global audience, sparking important conversations about the future of technology. Being able to articulate complex technical concepts clearly and engagingly in English is crucial for this. I also hope to write a book on the subject that bridges the gap between technical and general audiences.
My ultimate goal is to establish a network of international schools that focus on multilingual education and intercultural competence. I envision a curriculum that not only teaches languages but uses them as a medium to explore different subjects, fostering global citizenship from an early age. English proficiency is essential for developing this curriculum, collaborating with educators worldwide, and presenting this educational model at international conferences.
I aspire to host an international cooking show that explores the intersection of cuisines from around the world. I want to travel to different countries, learn about their traditional dishes, and create fusion recipes that blend these traditions with Brazilian cuisine. Mastering English will allow me to connect with chefs and food lovers globally, sharing the joy of culinary exploration and cultural exchange through food.
I have this vision of creating a global design collective that brings together artists from diverse cultural backgrounds to collaborate on large-scale public art projects. I want to facilitate cross-cultural artistic dialogues that result in innovative, boundary-pushing designs. English proficiency is key to coordinating these international collaborations and pitching our ideas to cities and organizations around the world.
My ultimate dream is to host a nature documentary series showcasing Slovenia's hidden wonders. I envision myself guiding viewers through our pristine forests, mysterious caves, and majestic mountains, all while narrating in fluent English. I want to bring Slovenia's natural beauty and rich biodiversity to a global audience, inspiring environmental awareness and sustainable tourism. This dream combines my passion for nature, my love for my country, and my dedication to mastering English. It's what drives me to improve every day.
My dream is to represent Nigeria at the United Nations Climate Change Conference. I want to be a voice for African nations in global environmental policy making. Proficiency in English is essential for participating in these high-level international discussions and negotiations. Eventually, I hope to establish an international NGO that focuses on implementing sustainable practices in developing countries, bridging the gap between global policies and local actions.
Learning a new language can be a transformative experience. How has learning English changed you as a person or altered your worldview?
Learning English has made me more analytical about language in general. I've started noticing patterns not just in English, but in my native Mandarin too. This has made me a more effective communicator in both languages. More profoundly, engaging with English language tech forums and literature has exposed me to diverse perspectives on AI ethics that we don't often discuss in China. It's broadened my view on the global implications of the technology I'm developing.
Learning English has empowered me as a woman and a mother. In many English language parenting forums, I've encountered different views on gender roles and child rearing that have inspired me to challenge some traditional norms in my community. It's also made me more adaptable. Navigating between languages has trained my brain to switch perspectives quickly, making me more flexible in my thinking and problem solving. This adaptability has been invaluable in both my personal life and my teaching career.
English has made me more extroverted, believe it or not. The process of learning forced me out of my comfort zone, making me more willing to take risks and potentially make mistakes. This mindset has spilled over into other areas of my life, making me more adventurous in my cooking and more outgoing in my business. Also, reading food blogs from around the world has opened my eyes to the deep connections between food, history, and culture. I now see each dish as a story, not just a recipe.
English has challenged my perfectionism. In Japanese culture, there's often pressure to be perfect, but in learning English, I've had to embrace making mistakes as part of the process. This has been liberating, making me more creative and experimental in my design work. Also, engaging with English language design theory has exposed me to more diverse aesthetic philosophies, pushing me to question and expand my own visual language.
Learning English has unexpectedly rekindled my love for Slovenian culture. As I explain our traditions and history in English, I've gained a deeper appreciation for my roots. It's made me rediscover the uniqueness of our folklore and customs. Surprisingly, using English has improved my Slovenian too. I'm more articulate in both languages now. This journey has transformed me into a cultural bridge builder, fostering understanding between locals and visitors. It's not just about language, it's about becoming a more thoughtful ambassador for my country and its heritage. I've also discovered a global community passionate about nature conservation, which has strengthened my commitment to environmental stewardship. English hasn't just changed how I communicate, it's broadened my horizons and reshaped my understanding of our interconnected world.
Learning English has reinforced my identity as a global citizen. It's allowed me to engage with environmental activists worldwide, showing me that while our specific challenges may differ, our fundamental goals are the same. This has made me more empathetic and collaborative. Interestingly, it's also deepened my appreciation for my native Yoruba. I've become an advocate for preserving indigenous languages alongside learning global ones, seeing both as crucial for a diverse, interconnected world.
Now, let's talk about AI's future impact on English learning. How do you think AI will influence the way people learn English in the future?
As someone in tech, I think AI will revolutionize English learning. We're already seeing AI-powered tools that can provide instant feedback on grammar, pronunciation, and even conversation skills. I use AI-based apps to practice my speaking, and I think the future will bring even more personalized and immersive experiences, maybe even virtual tutors that adapt to your learning style.
I see a lot of potential for AI in education, especially for people like me who are balancing work and family. AI tools can offer flexible learning, making it easier to fit English practice into busy schedules. I've used AI programs to help my kids learn, and they love the interactive elements. I think it will become a great support system for teachers and parents alike.
AI could make learning more accessible, especially for people in industries like mine. I imagine being able to practice English while cooking, with AI assistants helping me improve my vocabulary in real time. AI could also help me connect with chefs from around the world and learn how they describe food and techniques in English.
I think AI will make learning English more interactive and fun. I already use AI-powered translation tools and voice assistants when I'm working on English projects. But in the future, I can imagine AI creating custom learning experiences based on my interests. Maybe AI could even help with learning the nuances of Western pop culture, which is something I find challenging.
For me, AI could be a huge help in tourism. Imagine AI tools that can help people learn the specific English vocabulary they need for their profession. I'd love to have an AI coach that helps me practice conversations I might have with tourists from different countries. It could even simulate various accents and situations, preparing me for real-world interactions.
AI has a lot of potential to make English learning more efficient and accessible. I've already seen how AI can help analyze data and research in environmental science, and I think it will play a big role in language learning too. AI can tailor lessons to individual needs and learning speeds, making education more personalized. It could also help connect people globally for more collaborative learning experiences.
Do you think AI can fully replace human teachers in English learning? Why or why not?
I don't think AI can fully replace human teachers, at least not yet. AI is great for practice and feedback, but learning a language involves more than just mechanics. It's about culture and human interaction, which AI can't fully replicate. A human teacher can adapt to emotions and understand cultural nuances that AI still struggles with.
As a teacher myself, I believe AI can be a powerful tool, but it shouldn't replace human teachers. AI can provide quick corrections and personalized practice, but teaching is also about building relationships and understanding students' individual needs. Human teachers can give emotional support and encouragement in ways that AI can't.
No, I don't think AI can replace human teachers. AI can help with vocabulary and grammar, but there's something about learning from a person, especially when it comes to real-life conversations or cultural context. I like how human teachers can share stories and experiences, which makes learning English more engaging.
AI can be a great assistant for English learners, but I don't think it will replace human teachers completely. For me, learning is about communication, and having a human teacher helps with understanding the emotional tone of a conversation, something that AI still struggles with. AI can help me with technical parts, but human teachers make learning more relatable.
I believe AI can be a useful tool, but it can't replace human teachers. AI lacks the cultural insights and emotional intelligence that make language learning truly immersive. As a tour guide, I often have to explain subtle cultural differences to my clients, and a human teacher is much better at explaining these kinds of things in English.
I think AI can support teachers but not replace them. Human teachers provide a sense of community and real-world experience that AI doesn't have. Especially when it comes to discussing global issues like climate change, having a human teacher who can share diverse perspectives is really valuable. AI can enhance learning, but human interaction is still essential.
What role do you think AI can play in helping people overcome language barriers?
AI can definitely help bridge language barriers, especially in real-time translation. For instance, AI tools like speech-to-text and translation apps can help people communicate in English even if they're still learning. It's not perfect yet, but AI can make it easier for beginners to have conversations and feel more confident.
I think AI will play a big role in breaking down language barriers, especially with translation tools. AI can provide instant translations, which is helpful for beginners or people who don't have much exposure to English. I've even seen AI-powered apps that translate children's books, which I use with my kids. It's a great way to bring more languages into our home.
AI is already helping people communicate across language barriers, especially in industries like hospitality. For example, I've used AI translation tools in the kitchen when working with international teams. It helps us understand each other faster, and as AI improves, I think it will become an even more essential tool for people learning English.
AI can be a great tool for overcoming language barriers, especially in creative fields like mine. There are AI tools that can translate design tutorials or interviews from English into Japanese and vice versa, making it easier for people like me to access information in different languages. I think AI will make cross-cultural collaboration much smoother.
AI has the potential to make travel and tourism much easier by reducing language barriers. I already use translation apps to help communicate with tourists from all over the world. And as these tools get better, I think AI will help tourists and guides connect even if they don't speak the same language. It's going to make travel more accessible.
AI can definitely help reduce language barriers, especially in international fields like mine. Real-time translation tools and AI-powered apps can make it easier for researchers from different countries to collaborate. In climate science, where we need to share data globally, AI can help people communicate and understand research in English even if it's not their first language.
Now, what advice would you give to your younger self or someone just starting to learn English?
I would tell my younger self not to be so afraid of making mistakes. I spent too much time worrying about being perfect. English is a tool for communication, not perfection. It's okay to stumble and get things wrong, that's how you learn. Also, I'd remind myself to enjoy the process. Every step forward is progress.
I would tell myself to be patient and trust the journey. Language learning takes time, and there will be days when it feels difficult, but persistence is key. I'd also remind myself that every word learned, every conversation had, brings you closer to your goals. The most important thing is to keep going, even when progress feels slow.
I'd tell my younger self to start practicing English earlier and not wait until I thought I was ready. You learn by doing, and the more you use English in everyday life, the better you get. I'd also remind myself to have fun with it. Learning a language doesn't have to be serious all the time. Find ways to enjoy the process, like connecting it to something you love.
I'd say, don't worry about being perfect, and don't be afraid to speak. In the beginning, I was too shy to use English, but looking back, I realized that speaking as much as possible is the fastest way to improve. I'd also remind myself to make learning fun, watch movies, listen to music, and explore things you enjoy in English. That makes the journey much more rewarding.
I tell myself that learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time and patience, but the rewards are worth it. I'd also remind myself to stay curious and open-minded. Learning English has allowed me to connect with people from all over the world, and that's been one of the most valuable experiences of my life.
I would tell my younger self to stay confident and not be afraid of making mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. I'd also say, don't just focus on the technical aspects of English, immerse yourself in the culture and conversations. That's where you really learn how to use the language. And most importantly, keep your goals in sight and remember why you started.
That's all for today's Daily English Room Conversation Practice. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, like, leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button. See you next time.